We've got a fun show coming up here on Locked On Mariners. The M's won a ball game last night, and they're expected to get Kyle Lewis back tonight as they aim for a series victory over the Oakland A's. Colby, let's get into it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is Tuesday, May 24th, 2022, and this is the Locked On Mariners podcast. We are free and available on all platforms. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. I am your host, Tidy Gonzalez, reporter and editor at allseahawks.com. Joined as always by my co-host, Colby Patno. Be sure to follow the show on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Dane Gonzalez, that's DANE, GNZLZ, and Colby at CPAT11, that's CPAT11. Be sure to also check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Control the Zone. We typically post 2 additional shows on there every week and get into some bigger ideas and bigger topics, whereas, with Locked On Mariners, we cover more of the day-to-day with the M's. We also get into some non-baseball discussions on there as well. It's a fun time, so be sure to check it out. Again, that's patreon.com/Control the Zone. And if this is your first time joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast, welcome to the show. If you like what you hear, give us a follow or subscribe wherever you're listening to this. And if you're watching us on YouTube, hit the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, and give this video a thumbs up. We greatly appreciate it. So we're going to be talking Julio Rodriguez. We're going to be talking George Kirby, who's pitching tonight. We're also going to be talking about Kyle Lewis, who's expected to be activated from the IL today after his rehab stint. No official news on that at the time of this recording, but we fully expect that, barring anything unexpected happening. But let's get into last night's game, and really the star of last night's game being Julio Rodriguez, who had another multi-hit game, including his first home run at T-Mobile Park, a 3-run shot to right center field. Julio is now hitting for a 166 WRC plus in the month of May. He's slashing 333, 364, 524 in that time. Still only walking 4.5% of the time. He's striking out a little bit less than he has on the season, 26.1% of the time. But the guy is just absolutely mashing. I mean, all the hard contact that we had seen in the past, that's starting to now result in more hits. It's starting to result in more extra base hits. More importantly, he's still stealing bases, of course. He's doing it all right now, and he's playing a good center field still. Colby, is he starting to really develop into that kind of thought he was going to be, and maybe has he exceeded your expectations here in the month of May?
No, I knew he was going to be a superstar, and obviously that's what we're seeing. It probably needs to walk a little bit more. Can he really sustain a 333 batting average? I mean, yeah, probably. He's pretty good. But no, he definitely looks like he's taking steps forward. Still some bad at-bats mixed in, which is true of everybody, but especially going to be true of a 21-year-old who's played 40 games in the big leagues. There's still even some bad games here and there. He'll have games where he's 0 for 4 and strike out 3 times, and you're like, wow, that's a step backwards. But he seems to rebound very well. He's been very good in May. Again, the league is going to adjust, and he's going to have to counter adjust. But the really nice thing about Julio is that it looks like he's able to adjust like mid at bat, which is a skill that elite guys like Ty France have. But France has also played professional baseball for 6-7 years now, and Julio is basically played parts of 3 minor league seasons before being in the big leagues. So it's really kind of a rare skill that he has to kind of adapt. We've seen him, willing to use the whole field. Yesterday we saw the opposite field power for really the first time. He's doing everything you could possibly ask him to do. He right now probably the Mariners all-star. It probably deserves to be Ty France, but we know how difficult first base is to crack in the American League. But yeah, Julio's probably the all-star right now. He's got 12 steals. He's cracked 4 home runs this month alone. And we've seen 3 of them in the last, 10 days or so. So it really does feel like power is starting to become a regular feature for Julio. So it's hard not to be impressed with him. The at-bats are great for the most part. He's hitting the ball with authority. He's hitting the ball very hard. He's been excellent in center field. And obviously he's bringing some kind of energy to the Mariners that is difficult to quantify, because it's just different with Julio. You watch Julio Rodriguez play baseball, and something just seems different with him.
Yeah, I mean, he's not to be too cliche here, but he is quite literally built different, right? Like you just don't see dudes like him playing baseball. Really, there are only a handful of guys that look the way he does and plays the way that he does. I mean, the size, the strength, the speed, all of that. It's just ridiculous. That is rare. This is a rare baseball player that we're watching. He's 21 years old. He's one of the youngest players in all of baseball right now, and he is starting to dominate in the month of May. Like, he's not just performing well. He's been the Mariners' best hitter in the month of May. You look at the numbers, a 166 WRC plus, and you look at the quality of opponents that the Mariners have had to face this month, and you look at the struggles that this offense as a whole has endured, and he's been able to work around that. He's been able to survive that. And yeah, you mentioned he's had a couple of bad games here and there, but that's also going to happen. Everyone's going to experience that. Everyone's going to have a bad game here and there. We've seen Mike Trout strike out 4 times in one game against the Mariners before. Like, that just happens, right? But like Julio Rodriguez right now is playing on a different level. And it's really exciting to see. I don't know if he's going to be able to maintain this throughout the entire year, but this is kind of, I mean, it's kind of what we talked about before the season, you know, the outliers of Ronald Acuna Jr., Fernando Tatis Jr., Juan Soto, the guys that come up and immediately contribute at a high level. That's what Julio's doing right now this month. And I mean, that by far has exceeded my expectations for him, especially after the struggles that he, went through to start this year, all the strikeouts and stuff. And now he's starting to cut down on that a little bit. That's still, that's still been a part of his game, but he's more just kind of been, he's out a little more at a normal rate, and would like to see his walks go up a bit more. But overall, the guy's hitting for power. He's again hitting for more extra base power, and he's putting the ball over the wall more often. And now that he's doing that, now that he's elevating the ball more, and we talked about this, once that starts happening, I mean, sky's the limit for the guy. It's incredible, and it's exactly what the Mariners need right now if they're going to turn this thing around. Like, it's basically, you talk about kind of the perfect scenario, the perfect storm that needs to happen here for the Mariners. A part of that, to me, is Julio being this kind of player. And yeah, he's going to regress some from what he's doing. He can't, do exactly this for an entire season, or at least, I mean, I would love to see him try. But,
Right.
like, even if he regresses some, though, if he's still playing at an above average clip, that's going to be so huge for the Mariners. Because again, I mean, they banked a lot of their outfield success on him being good, and that's paid off. Unfortunately, that risk didn't pay off with Kelnick this year, but
Right.
Julio has actually lived up and exceeded expectations for the Mariners, and that's massive. That it can't be stated enough how big that is for them.
Right. He's on pace to be a 4-win player as a rookie.
Yeah.
That is an all-star caliber player as a 21-year-old. That's fantastic. And really, it's been the last 9 games. He's looked like an absolute, superstar, one of the best players in baseball. He went 0 for 7 against Bassett and Scherzer in those starts. And it was kind of like, that's the best pitching he's going to see. And then since that game Sunday afternoon in New York, Julio is hitting 389, 405, 667. He's hit 3 home runs in 9 games. He's also stolen a couple bags. If you want to pace that out over 162, that's 54 home runs, 36 stolen bases, and a nearly 400 batting average. So, yeah, he's been a superstar for the last 9 games, and obviously, he's in a hot streak right now. He'll regress some. He'll have another hot streak later. it's not always going to look this easy for Julio, but just the path he's on right now is just insane. Ever since about say the Kansas City series was probably when he really started to take off. The day before, he struck out 4 times against the Rangers. He got sombreroed. And then since April 22nd, which is a month, 30 games, 327, 372, 496. So
it's huge.
Yeah.
Right now he's 89th percentile on exit average exit velocity. He's 95th percentile on max exit velocity. He's 88th percentile on hard hit rate, 91st percentile on outs above average, 98th percentile on sprint speed. Dude, just a complete package right now. And the fact that he's also been above average in center field, I mean, that's I mean, you and I didn't expect that. You know, I did ask you, you know, before the season started that, hey, you know, maybe, you know, could this be a situation like with Kyle Lewis when we really didn't think that Lewis was a center fielder at all and he could surprise us? And he said, you know, maybe, but probably not. I mean, I think he's done that and then some. I think he's basically kind of had a Kyle Lewis-esque run here in center field where there isn't anyone else in this organization right now that I want in center field than Julio Rodriguez. Dude's been fantastic out there.
Yeah, Julio's kind of having the Kyle Lewis August of 2020 right now, where you're just like, wow, this guy could be a star. And we all remember how September happened for Lewis and how that didn't finish strong, but we were also really very excited for it. And you know, unfortunately, injuries the next year, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it's definitely very reminiscent of that August of the COVID season, where Lewis was just the best player on the team. And we were talking about, oh my God, do the Mariners have like a potential superstar?
Yeah.
So like I said, we'll see how Julio, obviously we'll see how he bounces back from the inevitable struggle. But for now, he looks like he's miles away from any kind of struggle setting in, but just have to accept that it's going to be okay. He'll come out the other side stronger for it.
Yeah, he has been so good that last night I looked up if it was possible to clone a human being 8 times. That would be nice. I think that would help the Mariners quite a bit. Unfortunately, I don't think it's possible. We haven't advanced that far in technology.
Not quite there yet.
Yeah, just we're close. We're close, but not there just yet. So speaking of Kyle Lewis, he's apparently coming back tonight. Still don't know officially, but he's got to go through some tests, and they got to determine if he's ready to go. But it looks likely that he is going to be on the roster starting tonight and probably be in the lineup tonight against the A's. So we're going to be talking about that in just a moment, but real quick, a reminder, this episode of Locked On Mariners is brought to you by BetOnline. Our partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all of the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's basketball playoffs, Major League Baseball scores, fights, and even next season's NFL futures. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wagering information, from live betting to playoffs, esports, and more. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. BetOnline is where the game starts. You're listening to Locked On Mariners. Thank you again for making us your first listen of the day. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Now podcast with recaps of MLB games with analysis from our local experts, taking fans through the season like no other network. It is free and available wherever you get your podcasts, just like us. So, Kyle Lewis has wrapped up his rehab stint. He was pulled early from his last game in Tacoma. After 2 at-bats. We didn't really hear anything about him yesterday and started to get a little bit concerned with that. But then Daniel Kramer tweeted out that he was in transit to T-Mobile Park, and he is there today. And Scott Servais said that Lewis is going to be evaluated today before the game, and they're going to determine if he's ready to go or not. And the assumption is that he is going to be given the green light, and he will be added to the roster today. So the issue, though, is he hasn't played back-to-back in the field. He's really struggled to go 3 days in a row, just even DHing. But he has hit a lot down in Tacoma. So obviously this offense could use particularly from its DHs. The DH spot has been more or less a black hole for the Mariners thus far. And so even if Lewis can only DH right now, I mean, how much of a boost could that be for the Mariners?
Yeah, it honestly does really depend on how many days he can play a week. He only played 7 innings in the field in his entire rehab stint, and that was on the second day of his rehab stint, third day of his rehab stint. He's missed 3 games in a row, twice in that same stint. So it's really going to be about how often can he contribute. I mean, if he can only play once or twice a week, that's helpful, but not a massive, improvement because it's only once or twice a week. So it's going to be a pretty interesting task of Scott Service and his staff to kind of pick and choose matchups. Scott's already came out and said that we shouldn't expect him to be playing the field anytime soon. So that does kind of limit you using him as a pinch hitter. You got to make sure that you have that extra outfielder still on the bench that you can use if you're going to, pinch hit him for Dylan Moore or whoever it is, right? So, but if you can play 3-4 times a week, if he can run the bases relatively well, obviously I'm not expecting him to be as fast as he was, but if you can play 3 or 4 times a week, if you can go back to back a few times, can he take 20 at bats a week? If he can do that, then he should be a pretty big upgrade to what the Mariners have had. If he can't, it's going to be tough, man, because again, while you do get an upgrade, those 10 at bats a week he's able to play, it's only 10 at bats a week, so it's really kind of difficult, and Scott's going to have his hands full trying to play matchup, try and get the most favorable matchup he can for Lewis, while also balancing, if I use him today, I can't use him tomorrow, and blah blah blah. So we'll see how much Lewis can play. I would imagine he's going to start tonight and probably be off tomorrow, day game after a night game. But we'll see. It's so tough to know what to expect from Lewis because we don't know how healthy he is. Healthy enough to swing the bat, sure. Healthy enough to run the bases, we think. Healthy enough to play in the field, no. And that's kind of an issue right now. So we'll see what Service and the training staff, they're going to have a huge role in this. We'll see what they can do because if Lewis can play 4 times a week and pinch hit one other time a week, that could be huge for this offense. It just adds another, at least average bat, probably somewhere in the 6-7 range to this lineup. That would help a lot.
Yeah, it would be massive. But again, we need to mention that for the limitations that you mentioned, Kyle Lewis is not the savior here.
No.
He is a bonus at best right now. And that should not prevent the Mariners at all from looking to continue to add to the outfield because right now he's not even an outfielder. He is a pure DH. So if we talk about trades or anything like that, and the first thought that comes to your mind is, well, they have Kyle Lewis now. No.
No.
They do not have Kyle Lewis, the outfielder. They have Kyle Lewis, the hitter, and that's all they have right now until he proves otherwise.
Not to mention they have Kyle Lewis today. They might not have him tomorrow.
Yeah.
And also not to mention, even if Kyle Lewis could play right field, like let's say hypothetically Kyle felt good enough, I could play right field twice a week and DH twice a week. You still need an outfielder because having a guy who can play the outfield twice a week is not the same as having a fourth outfielder.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. So Lewis should help, but even if he could play the outfield normally, even if he was 100% healthy, he's not a savior type of player. He's a good player who will help you, but he is not going to solve all your problems. He is not another Julio Rodriguez. But I'm excited to see him play, man. Who doesn't love Kyle Lewis?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's going to be
great dude.
Yeah. I am
Fun
very
player.
excited about this. I'm excited about how it lengthens the lineup. I'm excited to just watch him play. I'm excited for the opposite field power, which is ridiculous. And he saw that, we saw that quite a bit in his rehab stint down in Tacoma. When he is at his best as a hitter, Kyle Lewis is just incredibly fun to watch. He's so fun.
Yeah, I think we sometimes forget about Lewis, like how good he was,
Yeah.
because there are some people who think he's like the best player, and it's like, no, he's not. And there are some people who are just like, oh yeah, is he really that good? And it's like he's played 112 games in his big league career. He's hitting 258, 343, 450 with 22 home runs in about 2/3 of one season. It's a really good player, really good hitter. So yeah, I'm really excited to watch him play. Hopefully, he can play a couple times a week here, 3 or 4 times a week. That would be fantastic. But I'm excited to watch him play when he gets to play, and having Kyle Lewis and Julio Rodriguez and Taylor Trammell and J.P. Crawford and Ty France and potentially having all those guys in the lineup. That's a lot of fun. I mean, that just forget how good it is. It's just fun.
It's really fun.
Hopefully we get to see some of that, while we can.
And the Mariners could use some fun, quite frankly. I mean, they're getting it from some sources. Julio, of course. Gino.
They're still having fun. They're still having fun.
They're still having fun. Last night was fun. I mean, frustrating at times from the pitching side, but still fun. Still fun.
Although, again, I tweeted this out last night. I don't know if you saw this, Ty. Pitching last night, a little bit better than we thought. The A's had 12 hits. They had 6 hard hit balls, and of the 6 hard hit balls, only 3 of them went for hits, which means the A's had 9 medium or soft contact hits last night. The Mariners only walked 3 guys, so it's not like they were, giving them extra base runners.
Yeah.
The A's had the same number of hits with exit velocities over 70 or over 95 miles per hour as they did as many hits as they had with exit velocities under 75. They were incredibly lucky last night, and the Mariners pitchers incredibly unlucky. But hey, that's baseball, so they still get 6.
And also, shout out to Sergio Romo. Shout out to Matt Festa.
Diego
shout out to Diego Castillo.
Oh my God!
Who you said was, Scott was trying to lose.
You've watched him the last 3 weeks.
I watched him in New York. He was great in New York.
Oh, please. Okay, 1 out of his last 6 outings, he's been amazing. Well, now 2. Well, now 2 out of his last 6. But yeah, I mean, that's the Diego Castillo, man, that we thought we were going to get. And again, if that's the guy you get 90% of the time, 80% of the time, great.
Yeah. So assuming that Lewis is added tonight, who do you think is getting the axe off the roster?
Probably Haggerty, and I think that's a mistake. I think it should be Dylan Moore. Obviously, Colby hates Dylan Moore.
Why Haggerty over Moore?
Why should the Mariners keep Haggerty?
Why should they keep Haggerty over Moore? What does Haggerty give them that Moore doesn't?
Contact. I mean, what more does he need? He puts the ball in play. Every Mariner got on base or scored a run last night except for Dylan Moore. He went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts and looked terrible doing it. The dude can't hit. He can't hit. He has more power than Sam Haggerty. Great. So in the 1 in 100 chance he makes contact, there's a 1 in 100 chance he hits a home run. Whoop-de-doo. So Haggerty can play every position that Dylan Moore can play. He's faster than Dylan Moore. He's a better base runner. He's going to make more contact. And honestly, if you really want to be honest about it, I still think there's something in Dylan Moore that could be useful. You are not going to get it with him playing twice a week at the major league level. Sure. Send him down, get him in the AAA lineup every single week or every single day, work on the changes he obviously needs to make, and call him up in a month and a half. And maybe, just maybe, you have a viable big leaguer, because right now you don't. Dylan Moore's not a viable big leaguer right now. You can tell me his WRC plus is 100. I don't care. It's like 40 in the month of May. He's not a viable big leaguer.
Yeah.
Do I think Sam Haggerty is? Not really, but
no.
At least he's going to put the ball in play.
Sure.
And Dylan Moore, I can't even count on him to do that. So I would send down Dylan Moore. Mike Ford is at least a useful bench bat, possibly to platoon, or not platoon, but Kyle Lewis comes in against a tough righty. Oh, well, we'll just put Mike Ford out there. You know what I mean? So, just Dylan Moore to me has no value on this team. None.
Yeah. All right. So we got George Kirby making his 4th career start tonight against the A's as the Mariners look for a series victory. We're going to be talking about expectations for Kirby in just a moment, but real quick, a reminder. This episode of Locked On Mariners is brought to you by Athletic Greens. I started taking athletic greens because I just don't have the time to research every single amazing thing that's going to make my body feel great, and I'm sure neither do you. So, what is athletic greens? Well, with one delicious scoop of athletic greens, you're absorbing 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your immune system, your nervous system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. All the things. And it only costs you less than $3 per day. You're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit. It's lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy free, or gluten free. And for every purchase, Athletic Greens donates to organizations helping to get nutritious food to kids in need, including No Kid Hungry here in the US. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop and a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. And to make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/MLB network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/MLB network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. So George Kirby got hit around quite a bit in Boston in his last start. Trevor Story, really the big reason for that. Couple of home runs against Kirby. And then there was obviously the mix-up where Service wanted to take Kirby out, but couldn't do that because Kirby came out for his warm-up tosses, and there was that whole debacle. And then, you know, the doors got blown off by the Red Sox there in that inning. But Kirby has looked solid here and there. He's shown some really positive flashes. Obviously had the really good, first career start back against the Rays. And then, he was okay-ish in New York and okay-ish in Boston. The first inning, particularly in Boston, was really impressive. What are you hoping to see against him now against a certainly less talented lineup than the ones he faced in New York and Boston here with the A's?
Yeah. First things first, avoid Seth Brown because he's always going to do damage against the Mariners. It just happens. But this is actually a really fun pitching matchup. Just to kind of go more macro for a second. Caprillion versus Kirby is fun. Like that, those are two very fun arms to watch. They're young and they're very aggressive. So I'm excited to watch both of these guys pitch. Being said, for Kirby, it's going to be about kind of establishing the fastball. And, we talked about how great Kirby's fastball was against Tampa Bay in his first start. And the league already quickly adjusted, and Boston was able to put it in play. The Mets were able to put it in play with some real regularity. And we talked about how Kirby's fastball is not like this big elite pitch. It's not Logan Gilbert's fastball, right, where you can just survive on it. So, but that also doesn't mean he just can't avoid throwing it. He has to throw the fastball, and he has to be smart about it. He has to locate it very well. And then I think tonight the pitch is going to be the changeup, actually. The slider has been his go-to off-speed pitch. But I think tonight's a good night to break out the changeup, kind of make that adjustment on the league before they've seen it. Oakland's a pretty good team to do that on. It's the slider has been pretty good in theory, but it's only generated 6% of whiffs, whereas the changeup's at 23.5. It feels like tonight's a good night to dust off that changeup if you trust it. But it's going to come down to the fastball. He has to command it well. He's got to hit all four quadrants of the zone. He can't be in the middle of the plate like he was in Boston. He can't blow it by guys. There's not movement on it. There's not enough spin. It's a pretty ordinary fastball minus the velocity. So the slider and the changeup are going to be huge tonight. I really think tonight's a good changeup night to just kind of introduce that pitch. Hopefully he has it. If not, then it's just going to be about, can you go 5 and 6 and only give up 3 or 4? And just kind of let our offense try and stay in this thing. Because they will have an opportunity to score some runs off of Caprillion. But yeah, it always comes down to the fastball with Kirby. If he can locate it, if he can spot it on the corners, if he can hit it all 4 quadrants, he's got a chance to go deep in this game. And then I think tonight's big pitch is going to be the changeup, not the slider.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see him get back on track here, build some confidence. Just the second start at T-Mobile Park, of course, and the first one went, couldn't have gone any better than it did. So it'd be nice to see Kirby give the Mariners, and maybe go a little bit deep into this one as well, because he has the stuff to do it. We'll see about what the pitch count limitations are and everything for him, but
he should be at about 100 by now. But
yeah, I would think so as well. So he's got the stuff to quickly get through some innings here and maybe go 6 or 7 for the Mariners against this lineup. That would be nice, and maybe hopefully the offense can produce again like it did last night, and hopefully things don't get as interesting as they did last night, because they were up 3-0 at one point, blew that. They were up 7-3. Nearly blew that, and won 7-6. How about like an easy going game tonight, guys? Have we ever considered maybe doing that?
Yeah. And by the way, the Mariners, if they win tonight, it'll be their first back-to-back wins since April 24th and 26th, a month ago.
God, that's painful.
So yes, if they win one of the next two, it'll be their second series win of the month. So. Again, with Houston coming up on the back end of this homestand before you go back out to the East Coast, winning one of these next two feels absolutely crucial. And you might as well do it tonight so you can play with a little bit of house money tomorrow. Also, I would suspect Paul Sewald probably going to be down for today's game. He has thrown three games in a row. Granted, one of them was a one-pitch outing, so is it really count as 3 days in a row? I don't know, but I doubt Service is going to want to go there tonight, and so it might be the Drew Steckenrider show. So it might behoove the Mariners to score 8-9 runs tonight.
Or let the Sergio Romo revenge series continue, because it's off to a great start. Romo was nice he was last night.
I mean, that's part of the thing. We don't know who's able to go back to back yet. Sewald has gone 3 in a row. We don't know. I'm going to call it 2 in a row because one pitch doesn't count. He's gone 2 in a row.
Colby, what about all the pitches that he threw in the bullpen to get ready?
That's not a thing. Shut up. That's not a thing. And then Romo, still kind of working his way back from the injury. I don't think he's gone back to back yet. So we'll see if he's able to do it. Penn Murphy, he ran into some bad luck yesterday. Had to throw a lot of pitches though, so he's probably down for the day too. So Castillo and Steckenrider maybe are kind of the guys today, but I guess Munoz should be available. He didn't throw yesterday, so it'd be really great if Kirby can go 6 innings tonight.
Yeah, that would be really nice for this team, for all the factors that we just listed, and the fact that the Mariners, I don't really have a ton of faith in them going back to back scoring 5+. Let's just say that. Let's just say that. All right, so that's going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast. We'll be back tomorrow after the game, since it is a day game. So a good old Locked On Mariners post-game show. Be sure to join us then. For Colby Patnode, I'm Titan Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Dane Gonzalez, that's DaneGNZLZ, and Colby at CPAT11, that's CPAT11. You can also find all that stuff in the description of this episode. And thank you again for making us your first listen of the day, just like you do here every day. Now make your second listen of the day the Locked On MLB podcast. That's where Paul Francis Sullivan, and please call him Sully, brings you his unique perspective on the Major League's present and past. It's free wherever you get your podcasts, just like us. So have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we will see you tomorrow. Peace.